live on stage. The sound
of Orlando.
So, is they ready?
Yes.
The sound
of Orlando. Yo, what's going on, man? It is Tuesday. You heard? January 5th, Tuesday. If you were listening to my voice, that means you are live. The world hasn't got you yet. There's plenty optimism. There's plenty hope for you to do whatever you need to do moving forward. You've got to see another day. And of course, you are listening to and watching the Sound of Orlando show with your brother, your brethren, Rome. Yes, this is Rome, live and direct in the house, man. Shouts out to our new sponsor, Tom'sSons.com. Please believe me, if you know about fashion and you know you got to wear a mask, this site is all about you. This fashion statement is all about you, man. 5 generations of fashion. Tom's Sons, you've seen those masks. Those masks are just insane. If you got to wear a mask, it should look like your style, your statement, your story. So, big up to Tom's Sons, my man George, right out of Manhattan, New York City, sponsor of the show. Also, we're sponsored by 5 Star Graphics, my man Jesse Jazz, legend in Orlando. We are sponsored by my brother. If you need flyers, you need any kind of graphic work, please see your boy, Jesse Jazz. It's all you. Now, before we get to our next incredible hip-hop great, I just want to say to everybody, if you can hear my voice right now and you live in Orlando, don't ever let anybody tell you your city's too small. Don't let anyone ever tell you that you can't rep the O. You can. And there's a lot of people that come here and are like, man, Orlando is the shit. I would love to live here. And we're talking to a lot of people that have not got only roots here, have been here, and have seen what we possess as a city, and they love it. And that just is kudos to all the treasures, all the gold, all the resources that we have here. Be proud of where you at. Like Rakim said, it ain't where you from, it's where you at. And we from Old Town Sound. Sound of Orlando, baby. This your brother Rome, live and direct. Now, we are about to experience the level of hip-hop greatness that we all aspire to understand, hear the story from the horse's mouth. One of the greats to ever do it. He represents an iconic group we know as Black Sheep. And, you know, part of that congregation was rooted in some of the greatest sounds, greatest collaborations that people ever witnessed. He's coming on tonight with a whole new project with beats and sounds you ain't never heard from our beloved, rest in peace, Jay Dilla. And I mean, he's just about to drop some jewels. I can already tell. We vibed right before we got on the show. This brother is, like I said, when you say hip hop, you cannot say hip hop without mentioning this guy. He's done some great stuff. Flavor of the month. The choice is yours. I mean, you name it. He's done it. And, you know, what DJ is not rocking engine number 9 during a set? You crazy if you don't. So here we go. Starting out the new year, 2021, I'm bringing on my brother, Dres, from Black Sheep. Let's go, my brother.
What's good, Ron? Peace now.
Salute. Salute,
Salute.
my brother.
Big salute
Man,
to you. Big salute to Orlando as well. No doubt.
yes, sir, man. I mean, when you was talking about that what was it the Ritz Carlton. I mean,
Yeah, no doubt. I've
I
been
mean
down there to play.
everybody that's from here knows that spot, knows that golf course. And I mean, like, yeah, bro, to know that you went there and was doing your thing there, that's all right too, bro.
Matter
That's
of
all
fact,
right
you know,
too.
when the big storm came through last year, when that big storm, everything was shut down, all of the airports and everything. That's where me and my family stayed at while the storm came through. It was right at the Ritz Carlton. They held it down. Shout out to the Ritz Carlton. They held it down big time. Word up.
Wow.
It was an
Wow. You heard
enjoyable
that,
stay.
man? We holding the family down.
All right.
We holding the family. You hear that, Orlando, man? Don't let them
No
tell you
doubt.
no
Salute.
lies, bro.
Big salute.
Yes.
No doubt. Orlando, the Ritz Carlton. No doubt. Big time.
Yes, sir, man. Now,
Stay. You know what I'm saying?
everyone knows the classic stuff that you've done that's in our generation, but maybe for the people that don't know, that are in a younger generation, maybe our daughters, maybe our sons, whatever. Talk about, before we get into the present, talk about what how you got into hip hop. What was your first kind of like um initiative, if you will, initiation into hip hop, where you from, and how that began for you when we're talking about, this thing called Dres and Black Sheep and hip hop. Talk about that.
Um, for me, like I'm old enough to remember before hip hop existed. You know what I'm saying? And so I grew up on my parents' music, like I think like most kids do. Like you kind of grow up on your parents' music until you're able to identify what's yours. And
Right.
so I was heavy into I was well rounded. So I was heavy into a lot of different things as far as music is concerned. I come from a musical family. Both my parents were in bands at different points in their lives. And so from uh stereo to jazz to rock to R&B, strong R&B, like I was into it all. And one I remember early record for me that was big in me just wanting to develop as an artist was Stevie Wonder's Songs in the Key of Life. I was probably like 11 years old, and I remember sitting in the living room and literally learning every word on both of those. That was a two album. It was two pieces of vinyl, but it had the booklet with words in it, and so I learned every single song on both of those albums, both sides, even songs. Even there was a song that was in Spanish and Swahili. Learned every single word, and there was instrumental on the album, and I remember that being the very first instrumental that I wrote lyrics to. You know what I'm saying? But this was in hip hop. This was before hip hop. So I wrote a song, to Stevie Wonder's. It was My Mother's Call on Songs in the Key of Life album. And so when hip hop came around, for me it was just an amazing thing. Like it, like it was beat heavy, and the opportunity to express yourself was right there in front of me, and I felt like I probably would have become a writer of some sort, what have you. That's just kind of where my head was at with it, and I it just hit me, what I'm saying. And I was one of my cousin F, he had turntables, so I got a chance to touch vinyl right off the rip, what I'm saying. And this is in Queens, and wound up relocating. My mom and my stepfather got married, relocated to North Carolina. So hip hop was very new when I get to Carolina, and I'm from New York, and I'm trying to explain to them what's coming, And like as you started, as the records started making their way down south, like it's like we're all getting it at the same time, from the King Tims the Third to the, like to everything, Sugar Hill, everything that was coming down the pipeline. I was catching some of it initially from the Carolina aspect. though every summer I was back in New York. And so I remember the one summer, I think it was like 83 maybe, when Sucker MCs came out. And like that was even a changing of what was going on in hip hop, to the degree that it resonated with me, like, yo, this is what I've got to do. Like, I've got to do this, you know what I'm saying? This is what it was. But at that point in time, I was, I was kind of a knucklehead. I was still in school. I was in high school at that point. And when I finished high school, I came back to New York. The week I finished high school, I'm back in New York. And my first inclination was to, kind of do what I had seen. Like, my father was like a hustler in Flushing, Queens. And so I came from a big family, had a lot of aunts and uncles, a lot of cousins. And so when I first get back to New York, one of the first things I really started doing was the wrong thing. You know what I'm saying? I started hustling, and, it was only that when crack becomes an epidemic and New York kind of institutes the TNT task force, it was a blessing and a curse that I probably was one of the first 500 cats arrested by TNT, if that many. And
now put us in the area.
This is in Queens.
The Queens? This was in Queens?
This is in Flushing, Queens, in the Bland Projects.
Shout out to all my peoples from Flushing, Queens.
No doubt.
World's Fair, baby. You already know it.
Queens, for real.
Right.
I'm from Astoria, Queens. I grew up in Astoria, and and I was very much ahead of myself. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was really, I was one of those kids. I was really popular. Like, at a young age, I ran with older kids. I'm 12, 13 years old, running with 16, 17-year-olds, you know what I'm saying? And doing way too much at an early age and getting away with too much at an early age. So when I kind of bumped my head, you know what I'm saying, when I jumped out there and I'm doing what I'm doing, I come from a real crew, and, like, cats kind of went on to do what they do. But just to say, me bumping my head was me getting arrested. I get bailed out. I jump bail. I go down to Carolina. Don't know why, but I ran out of Carolina. Wound up getting into something else down there, get extradited back to New York. And now I'm on Rikers Island. When Coogee dropped Rikers Island, I was on Rikers Island. And it was real, you know what I'm saying? It was a reality that, like, real quickly, that slapped me right in my face and punched me in my chest and let me know, like, oh, this is not what's supposed to be. This is not what's up with you, you know what I'm saying?
And shouts out to Coco T, who came out with that joint back in the days. You never want to go to Rikers Island. We already knew. Like, that sounds like you do not want to go. Even me don't like Rikers Island.
You don't, man. And
continue.
And so I was able to get this knowledge firsthand, you know what I'm saying? And when you see yourself becoming something else, then don't know yourself for, you know what I'm saying? And that's a quick reality check that that you should grasp. So I wound up having to deal with my whole court case from right now because I had jumped bail. They wouldn't give me a bail, and I'm dealing with it from that aspect. And I was very lucky that I didn't have priors and all that stuff. I did, well enough in school that now that I'm back, the judge was able to kind of decipher that I wasn't a bad risk as far as giving an opportunity to. And so I was probated to like a halfway house. And so I did 10 months on Rikers, did 10 months in this halfway house. But while in the halfway house, I get in college. I started working at this federal agency in Manhattan, the Rental Neighborhood Association. I work with the homeless. I started, now I'm working, I'm going to school. So I'm putting together a little paper to get my first apartment. So after 10 months in the halfway house, I have my own place. I'm working and I'm going to school. And, and now I'm on my own, and I'm literally coming from lunch one day, going back to the job, and I'm passing what looks like my little man from North Carolina on a Manhattan street. And I'm blown away, like, yo, what's up, man? And it was long, and I'm like, like I haven't seen him forever, like he was younger than me. So he's just in high school. Excuse me. So he's like, yo, I came up here, to pursue this music thing. And I'm like, out of town, like, like I was like, word, like, for real. And he like, yeah, like I was with him when he met Red Alert. Red had came down with the real Sparky D and Roxanne Shante to do a show at the Coliseum in Raleigh. And we had a little bit of pull. This is when I was in high school. We had a little bit of juice down there. And Craze from the Bronx was on top of the show. So he knew Long was dope. So we kind of coached into putting Long in front of the entire order before the show. And Long is so little, he has to stand on milk crates to cut. But he was an amazing DJ. So the whole crowd is, what I'm saying, over along, cutting for the crowd before the show even starts. So Red was kind of taken with his ability, and he's like, like they chopping it up. And, Long is like, like I'm from New York, I'm down here, but I'm in New York every summer. So Red gives him his number, and he's like, well, when you come up, reach out. That summer, Long comes up to New York, is running with Red for the whole summer. Red has him in the studio with the two brothers while they're making his first album. So every summer, Long is coming back up, and now he's like family. What I'm saying? He's been around cats, every summer since then. Now I don't know all this is going on because I'm back in New York and I'm doing my own thing and I'm getting into trouble and all of this, that, and the other. And so when I bump into Long on the streets of Manhattan, he had just got there. He's living in Brooklyn with his aunt, her man, and the kid in a studio apartment. Now, like I just said, I just got my own apartment. So I'm like, like, yo, like you my man, like, yo, should I have a crib? Give me 1 week to live in it, and you can crash with me. Like, what I'm saying? Like, just give me a chance to get situated. So the next week, Long comes up, and when he comes in the crib, he's got his turntables and records, and I'm like, oh, like, you still doing this? Like, like I was almost just really jubilant to see, that he was still knee deep in it. And so as we started developing rekindling our friendship, it wasn't really for me to take him kind of like to the projects and stuff like that and start introducing him to that. So I started hanging with him and going to the studio. Now I'm meeting the Jungle Brothers. I'm meeting De La. I'm meeting Tribe. They even have their first record out. And Latifah, like her dances and, like we just start this friendship on the strength of Long introducing me, saying, and they looking at me like I was, like a hustling kind of kid. So I didn't really need anything from them. I was kind of, presenting myself in a way that I wasn't, trying to pull from the situation. I was trying to add to the situation. And we all became fast friends. Right. And there it was like, like we're seeing, of course, Red Alert. From there, we're seeing that we're in the room, saying the room that a lot of people are trying to get into, like, and we have an ability. Every day from my senior year of high school, every single day I would meet at my man Stan's house and Long would come through, and every day we make tapes and rhyme for just on the strength that we loved hip hop. So it wasn't like we could see our ability in this room with the native tongue to carve our own little thing. So, literally pawn the jewelry I had, give half the money to Long, and I'm like, let's book a studio session, let's create a demo, and let's get them, give it to Red and give it to everybody, check us out and see, if we can put a situation.
Wait. Stop right there, family. Stop right there.
Right.
You just hear what he said, Orlando? He said, I pawned my jewelry, gave up what I needed to do, and let's book a session. Did you just hear that? That's hip hop. Continue, my brother. Continue.
All right, no doubt. Like, but that's how much you have to believe yourself. Literally, like, I look at it as me giving up anything as much as I look at it as me doubling up. You know what I'm saying? Like tripling up. I'm like, like I'm not losing anything. You know what I'm saying?
Right. It's powerful as what you just said is. For a lot of people, it is giving up. They don't believe in the exchange. Right. There's a spiritual exchange that is made when you believe in something. Something has to go in exchange for that belief to manifest and to be as powerful as it's supposed to be. You can't hold on to certain things as you did once before. So it is a giving up, but it's like a get rid of that, for this.
Yo, you gotta have the vision that like you're not giving up anything. If everything goes to plan, I could buy a million chains. You know what I'm saying? Right. And if this is the price, if this chain, this whatever baubles is the price of me getting into the next level. Let me give that up freely, because in the next level, like, you know what I'm saying, like that's a trinket. You know what I'm saying? Like at the next level, that's so insignificant. And
Right.
you know, and I already came from a place where, you know, I was running around, you know, with Jules in the 80s. You know, like I knew the worth of my walk with or without that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, like I definitely was a real one. Even how we got our name Black Sheep, like, you know, like when we were deciding who we were as a group, we're looking around Calliope Studios and we're looking at all of the different groups. And I'm like, yo, Long, if anything, we're kind of like the black sheep of these cats. You know what I'm saying? And that was it. You know what I'm saying? Like, all right, cool. Well, we rock out there. So we create this demo, and we hit Red, let everybody hear it, and everybody's like, you know, like, oh snap, like they went away, like, you know, like wow, like, you know, y'all are kind of dope. And Red has his assistant Funkencline, Dave Funkencline, God bless him, huge presence in our games. He makes a bunch of calls, and he sets up different meetings with us with different labels. And you know, we really wanted to sound with Def Jam. I remember us really wanted to sound with Def Jam, but Leo Cohen, I would have wound up killing that man. Like without a question, he was beyond someone. I'm so glad we didn't. I mean, I know he's made a lot of people rich and this, that, and the other, but just horrible for the culture, and you could see it back then.
Right.
So we wound up signing with.
Just pause right there, my brother, because you know I want to explore that, because part of this show is to recognize the humanity in our legends, because for a lot of people they just view these legends as these objects, like a Mercedes Benz or a Bentley. Like this is something you want to subscribe to, but they don't realize the humanity. And especially what you're talking about, because you believed in yourself, and I know you're one of those people, but for a lot of people, that is probably some of the hardest things they'll ever do in their lives, is believe in themselves despite their entire environment, their people, their living conditions, their value, their money. Like they view all these external things as what their value is, not realizing, to your point, that the value is actually in you, and that you can actually
and you determine that.
Price. Right.
Right. You determine that. And you know what I'm saying? And never make a mistake of thinking that your surroundings are your value. You know what I'm saying? Word up. Be it for better or for worse. You know what I'm saying? Like at the end of the day, your values lie deep within yourself, and you got to expound on them to create your worth. You know what I'm saying? And once you see it in yourself, you make sure other people see it. You know what I'm saying? Like that's your job. Like even in, like, you know, like on this Leo situation, like, you know, like we get the opportunity to one of the places we got a chance to shop our demo was at Def Jam. Like I said, we were huge fans of Def Jam. We used to get Def Jam records without even hearing them, just because it was Def Jam. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how important to the culture they were.
Absolutely.
And so we walk into this meeting with a cassette, you know, with our demo, and Leo's on the phone, and he makes it a point to kind of keep us waiting in front of him. I don't know who he is, have no idea why we're meeting with him. I'm figuring this is somebody that Russell, you know, has in some executive capacity at Def Jam. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm that much of a fan. I'm looking for Russell, like, you know what I'm saying? But just saying, so Leo's got us on hold. He's on the phone, and he's making it a point to talk badly about the artists that are on their label. And I remember him being so disrespectful in the name of Slick Rick. And
at that time, hold up. That is a world premiere, bro. Let's talk about that. Let's take a look. Breaking news, people.
Breaking news never stops.
Turn this motherfucking sound up, man. Blast this is trying to hold this up.
Continue, my brother. Let's go.
Nicely played. So like like I remember, like, him talking badly about Slick Rick. Like, I don't care the fuck about what he wants and this and that. And he has this thick accent, you know what I'm saying? And at the time, like, I'm a huge fan of Slick Rick. And I'm looking at this dude like who the fuck is this dude? Like, why, like who makes him able to buy the desk and talk badly about Slick Rick? Whatever. We there to shop the demo. Hey, what's up, man? When he gets off the phone, and he's disrespectful. Who the fuck are these guys? This, that, and the other. Man, my name is Dres. This is Long with the Black Sheep. Red people called you. This is our demo. Came to play it for you. And so, like, if it's March, he's looking at the demo's looking at us. He's like, yeah, I can't listen to this till July. And I'm like, excuse me? He's like, I ain't gonna be able to hear this until July. It's literally on his desk in front of him. And I'm like, oh shit. Like, like I'm just realizing, like, yo, this dude's a real dick, and I don't even want to work with him. You know what I'm saying? So before he could say anything else, I snatched the demo back. I said, yo, we'll be time by then. It's nice to meet you. And we break out. So the next day, we're in the Bronx where I got my first apartment, and this is my word, the phone rings. And I pick up the phone, I'm like, yo, what's up? Hello? He's like, is this Dres? And I knew right off the rip, I knew who it was. I'm like, oh snap, I'm bugging. How'd he get my number? Is this Dres? I'm like, nah, this is Dres. How can I help you? This is Leo Cohen. Listen, I have a limousine on the way to pick you up. We're gonna sign you over here at Def Jam. And I'm like, excuse me? He's like, yeah, we're gonna sign you over here at Def Jam. I have a limousine that's on the lot right now to bring you down here. I said, oh, dude, we was just in your office. I was like, I said, have you heard our music? There's a long pause. I hear it's amazing. I hear it's in phenomenal music. We're gonna bring you down to the Def Jam. We're gonna sign you here. I was like, nah, man, check this out. We're good, man. Like you could cancel that call and we'll work out on our own. We're fine. I really appreciate it. Thank you, man. And that was it. You know what I'm saying? And our first manager was Chris Lighty, who wound up going to work at Def Jam. And when he went to work at Def Jam, he wanted to bring us. And that whole interaction with Leo was like, nah, I don't want to Def Jam. Like, like, Chris, I love you. You know what I'm saying? I know you're going to Def Jam. They got us, something real for you. But I don't want to be over there, man. I don't trust that scenario. I don't like the energy from dude. If that's who you're going to be in partnership with, we're not going to get along. And before it gets there for me, I'd rather just be somewhere else. And so he wound up introducing me to Shakim and Latifah, the Flavor Unit, and became our managers. But that was our beginnings. And from there, we negotiate with Mercury. We start working on the first project, and we created Wolf in Sheep's Clothing.
Well, that was a great look for Mercury. Because Mercury wasn't necessarily known for hip hop music. I mean, they did have DJ Chuck Chill Out and Cool Chip. Shout out to them. Shout out to that BX. And they had a couple other things going on, but they weren't known for hip hop. And so, for a lot of groups that took those alternative methods, it wound up being a blessing in disguise. Because they were able, because it wasn't a hip hop label, to kind of give you guys the shine,
the attention, right, and that was one of the main reasons why we went with Mercury, to say that first of all, they had one of the A&R cats was my man Dave Gossett, young cat, was our age. Lisa Cortez was a little bit older, but she she was very motherly and soulful at the same time. So these are the two people that we were dealing with on a label that wasn't congested with hip hop, you know what I'm saying? And so we felt very close to them, you know what I'm saying? Like they were someone we could identify and talk to and explain if there was ever going to be an issue. And we felt like the label would harp in on what we were doing if we started creating the right project, you know what I'm saying? So right off the door, I think it was important for us to kind of establish our ability and to pull them in. And once we pulled them in, like they were able to pull everybody else in, and we created something that was really dope together. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you learn a lot, you know what I'm saying, as far as the gives and takes of being on a major label and things thereof, you know what I'm saying. But like we did some pretty cool stuff, and and what was really cool too is the group. Like, we produced our own record. We wrote everything, produced everything. We picked the first two singles. We picked the month. We picked Choice Is Yours. We remixed, Choice Is Yours. But the original remix of The Choice Is Yours had three different versions. I mean, three different verses, pardon me. And when they heard it, they were like, yo, we love what you did here. We love this track. It's amazing. But why don't you keep the first two verses from the original and just this engine number 9 thing on the third verse, just make that the remix and just add that, change the third verse with the track. And like we're young.
You just solved like several Rubik's cubes and the flu all at once, because that was gonna be like this is when magic happens. Because I was gonna ask you that first version. I mean, that first original version, or at least what it said on the record, was dope. It was insane. And then, I mean, especially the beat. Like, to know that you guys did that is amazing within itself. But then you guys said, scratch that. We're gonna do this. I mean, like, and you took it. It went from 100
from here to here
to 1,000,000. Like, you went from this point to Lightspeed. Talk about that. And when I take our listeners, take the people that are tuning in right now, and talk about what that sounded like in the studio to you. Because we know what it did with the world, but talk about what it sounded like to you.
Yo, man, that's the brilliance of having a Mr. Long. You know what I'm saying? Long did probably 90% of production itself on the first album. And like, this was the thing that he'd been waiting years to do. Like when he came to my crib in the Bronx, when we started sharing an apartment in the Bronx, when he came in with the turntables and set up his records and everything, across the floor, he might have 3 records in this pile, 4 records in this pile, just 2 records in this pile, 5 records in this pile. And so I was like, like, what's that? And he's like, like those we didn't have equipment. He's like, like, those represent songs I want to put together. Like, the beat on that goes with the bass line on that record, and goes with, like, there's some keys on that record. And then this beat goes with this and the other. And he started playing for me. And you had to be able to hear it. I want to use this beat. Just spin a beat. And then, just a piece of a different bass line from another record. And you piece it together in your head. And you're like, oh, snap, that's dope. You know what I'm saying? So Long had been doing this up until this point in his life. You know what I'm saying? Like he had never been to studio. He hadn't created anything for himself yet. So these are well thought out joints coming from the mind of a young DJ in hip hop. If he had equipment, what he would do. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Stop right there, because that is a teaching moment. You just taught a bunch of people all at once something they probably never heard before. Okay? That is a DJ job, is to believe, even if they don't even have the equipment.
Word.
They believe. They hear something that no one else hears, and they're gonna wait for the opportunity, just the moment, to get the right equipment, the right turntables, the right mixer, the right BPM, whatever. And
right.
You just expressed what DJing, what producing, what being poor is. Continue, my brother. Let's go.
And these are the tracks that you're hearing on A Wolf in Sheep's Clothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how well put out those tracks are. You know what I'm saying? Like, some of those tracks literally came years in the making to the moment that we got to that point. You know what I'm saying? And we're from those files. Some of those tracks were that well put out. And I salute Long on a level of just genius that, like, like he carried that with him, and he brought that with him, and we pushed it forward. You know what I'm saying? So so in picking, like even in picking the tracks that I wanted to rhyme to on the album, like like it was just a plethora of just brilliance. You know what I'm saying? Like there were tracks that I didn't use that were brilliant. You know what I'm saying? Like, but like we had started establishing what we were and what we were gonna sound like, and this and the other, and like so back to This Is Yours. Like when we created it, the album version, like it was a dope joint, and it meshed some really dope pieces together. From
Right.
KRS to like some really cool stuff.
That
And
beat was insane.
yeah,
That was probably some of the first records that I ever like flashed for hours. That was almost the equivalent of like Peter Piper, like that band, that noise.
Burn it,
Like,
yeah,
that was everything, bro. That
Lil
was
Donaldson, yeah, no doubt. Long man, like just a brilliant hip hop mind, man. Sincerely. So when we decided to do it for the second single, since at the time, especially coming out of the native camp, everybody did a remix of whatever they were gonna bring. There was gonna be a B-side remix, you know what I'm saying? So, like that was a real creative thing that we definitely wanted to
Slow down
keep up,
here,
you know what I'm
bro.
saying?
You're
Yeah.
doing teaching moments. You're teaching right now. I just want to highlight with a yellow highlight marker
That's all
this
up.
moment. This is when you believe in what you're doing, you can do several remixes and not feel pressured that you had to do it because it sucked. The first version didn't suck. Continue, my brother.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It was never us feeling like that version wasn't good enough. But I remember when Long plays the track for me, and as soon as I hear the bass line, I already know. As soon as I hear the bass line, whoa! Like I'm just before the beat even drops, I'm just like, whoa! Wait a minute! And the beat drops, and it was already like just a percussion heavy kind of catch, which is why we kind of really complimenting Joe. I think we both just hear things percussion first, and so we identify that as the track for the remix. And Long lets me know, like I was gonna give this to Chi Ali, but they did, I think either him or Chris turned it down. I was like,
Shout out to Chi Ali. Let's go.
No, I stopped Long right there. I was like, yo, just hearing this track, I was like, yo, don't ever give something to anyone else before you play it for me. Just play it for me first, please. You know what I'm saying? Because I was like, there was no way in the world anybody would have heard that if he'd have played it for me. Like, no, we can't give that to no one. It was that sick. So we wound up doing the remix. Like I said, we get to the point that it's the original first two verses, and then the remix wound up becoming the third verse, the Engine number 9 part. And I remember when we mixed and mastered it, being in the studio and just playing it in the big speakers and turning it all the way up, and just standing in front of it with Long, and just being just so blown away that it was us. And this is my word, like I didn't know what we had done, but I knew we had done something. Like, and I told him, that's exactly what I said. I said, I was like, yo, I don't know what's gonna happen, but this is about to do something. Like, I can't even put the words what's about to happen because I don't know, but I know something's about to happen. It sounded like nothing I had ever heard in hip hop, and it didn't take, especially coming behind Flavor of the Month. It was almost like people were like, so what you gonna do now? You know what I'm saying? And for us to be able to just slip that bass line on and fall into the record, it was amazing for us. You know what I'm saying? Like it was an amazing moment in time in hip hop in our lives, and we got to travel the world a few times over, moving forward. You know what I'm saying? And even the following single.
Look here, man. Let me tell you something, bro. Had you just did that first version, I'm pretty sure we would still be talking about it. But let me tell you something, bro. You made something within like 4 bars that forever. Like, I don't care what club you go to. Like, what kind of club is not going to it's not going to cut in that engine number? Like, what club is that they don't play? But you had something to me, and I still rock that to this day. That I'm using that for like to intro mad songs. Like, you made something that's so timeless, and to your point, it was kind of like, let's try this. And that's where the magic happens. That's where everything happens. Because when you believe in yourself, you just try. You believe you could take something further, and that's everything. That's everything about hip hop. That's everything about your life. When you feel like you got to this point and you're dope and you did what you needed to do, that engine number 99, like, that's everything right there. That's everything that takes you to that next level.
And
we congratulate you on that, bro. That's a forever banger. Ever.
Yeah, I mean, I've been blown away by, like I said, like, we didn't know what we did. And if we could have only known that 25 years down the road, you know what I'm saying? Like from a Kia commercial to a Fat Man Scoop using it and, Be Faithful to it being in the new Spider-Verse movie to, I mean, like, every few years it gets reinvented in something on a major level. It's been beyond a blessing for us, you know what I'm saying? Sincerely. Wow.
Yes, sir. Now, talk about the next level after that particular push. That album was incredible. Once again, we're talking about Flavor of the Month, Choice is Yours, Strobe Light Honey. Like, it was just amazing, an amazing effort. Talk about that moment once that album kind of lost its fire, if you will, and you guys were on to the next thing. Talk about that moment.
Well, it was kind of, like everything, like that's what a record's gonna do, and I think us being around the natives for a good year or so before we came out was us to be able to see what happens, with your record and how it's pushed and how it should be pushed and
Right.
The rise and having out the next single when the other one's coming down and things of that nature.
Right.
So when the album was done, and mind you, we got the opportunity to do 4 singles with the Strobe Light and Similac, you know what I'm saying? And
Similac, yes.
And just to say, and that we only got the 4th because I honestly thought Strobe Light was the wrong song to come behind Choice Is Yours. I didn't want
that shit was dope though.
It did what the label wanted. Like we picked the first 2 singles. We picked them. And then all of a sudden the labels tell us what the 3rd single is. And I'm like, nah, like, no, whoa. Like, when we first initially did Strobe Light was just a skit on the album. And the label asked us to extend it. Like, we like this. Would you make that a little longer? And like I said, we're young, and anything that this label asking, like, until they prove us wrong, like us not want to do it, we just, all right, cool, make it longer. Yeah, sure, no problem. We make it a little longer. So for them to now come back and tell us that this skit that we made longer is 3rd single behind the mega successful Choice Is Yours, it just felt wrong, you know what I'm saying? And it wasn't the type of record that we felt was supposed to come behind this record. Especially as much of a street movement that Choice had created at that time.
Absolutely.
That wasn't
and I
a street.
want to capitalize on that moment because I just seen a post today. Obviously it's an older post because it's Prince. But Prince talked about that, like this idea that record companies, based on their influence on the artist, versus they're this machine of money and machine of influence, and they try to get ownership by telling you, because most of the artists, they do make their own music. They do have their own studios. They do create their own stuff. But these record labels, they'll come in and they'll try to make you feel like you needed them, and they'll pick the wrong single, they'll pick the wrong thing, thinking that that's going to be the thing to get you, and you're basically saying that in so many words. Like, that's not.
Yeah. They definitely leaned on us. They definitely leaned on us so much to the point that I had you know, I'm trying to explain to them, like, you know, like, look, y'all trusted us to pick the first two singles, like we did that, like you know, like, and they, of course, they rebut with, you know, well, trust us, you know, like we signed y'all, and you know, I was adamant about it. I'm like, you know, like, yo, I'm coming to this video shoot, like I'm not supporting this. This is the wrong song, and it gets to the point that they like, look. Just give us a chance. Come participate in the video, this and the other. We'll give you a fourth single, and that's how we got Similac. So you know, participate, and this is my word. To this day, I still feel like it was the wrong single to come behind Choice, but the song Strobe Light went to number 16 for the year on the Billboard dance charts. So it did basically what they wanted it to do. You know, like they
And let me
used
tell you
it.
something. And let me tell you something. We were rocking the hell out of that shit.
Oh yeah,
Florida was about that dance growing up. Orlando was about that dance growing up, and that had that groove that you could play. Like during that time, there was like we had freestyle going on, and we had like Miami bass. And that was like the closest thing we could get to hip hop, kind of marrying those two. And so, like, Similac was like us literally getting a chance to listen to you while they weren't playing a lot of hip hop. So, shout out to Florida for rocking the hell out of Similac. They were playing that everywhere. So,
the Strobe Light, yeah, but just say like, yeah, I mean, we got so much stuff in Florida. That's my word. Like, you know, without question, much love for Florida. And you know, like I said, the record Strobe Light wound up going number 16 on the dance charts. But even with the success of doing that, you know what I'm saying, like we weren't a dance, you know, like we were native tongue, like we were hip hop cats. So we wasn't necessarily trying to be number 16 for the year on the dance charts. But you know, it is a form of success as far as, you know, the overall movement. We roll with it. You know, okay, I get it. I see it. I see what y'all did, and you know, this and the other. And it kind of coincided with, you know, A De La Soul's Me, Myself, and I. It kind of coincided with a Jungle Brothers, you know, Girl I'll House You. Like records that initially wasn't intended to become, you know, like this, you know, like a dance record. And so okay, cool. You know, like, you know, it's still us. It's not like it's not us. It just felt like it was the wrong song. So we go on to do Similac, which, you know, was us closing the album out. By the time we put the second album together, oh, mind you, in the interim, but while we were on the second album, I became the first hip hop artist to get an imprint. I got an imprint, which is basically a subsidy of the label that I'm on. I started my own company called One Love, and I had the opportunity to bring out some new music under my umbrella, which was under their umbrella, while we're working on the second album.
Say that one more time for the city, brother.
All right. But while we're on the second album, I negotiated a deal with Mercury. I become the first hip hop artist to have an imprint, and the imprint was called One Love. And what it did was give me the opportunity to identify some talent and bring them out under my own umbrella. And, you know what I'm saying, I brought out the group The Legion, which is a hip hop group from the Bronx. And I brought out a female R&B group called Image, which is three ladies from out of Oakland. And, you know, at the time, I didn't realize I kind of got a kind of a bum deal. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, like I couldn't really do the things that I wanted to do as far as just being an independent label. I had to deal with them doing it for me, and and now I'm also competing. Like when I found out that Clive Davis gave Puffy like 9 million versus me having a deal for a couple of 100,000 to bring out 3 groups, I was like, I'm looking at, at sound like, like you got me competing with, cats that can really play, and you didn't set me up right. To which
Right.
later on, like if he comes back, he's like, I could have done better by you and this and the other, and I'm, like whatever. But just to say, but ultimately, I was the first hip hop cat to have his own imprint, the first hip hop MC, saying to have his imprint, and I bring out the Legion, we do Jingle Jangle, and there's a R&B album out there by these 3 young ladies called Image. It's an amazing, amazing album. And so the
You hear
three
that,
of us,
people? Image. Go look them up right now.
yes,
Google them. If you don't know about hip
EMAGE.
hop music, go check them out. Continue.
Yeah. So we wound up, so we're all 3 of us are putting music together at the same time, working on the second album. They're working on their albums, and so we're really kind of situating ourselves to kind of really make some major moves. But while we're doing all of this creating, Mercury is getting flipped over. It's almost like when a team wins a championship, like in basketball or baseball, what have you. A lot of the key players now have the opportunity to get a better deal on other teams. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of what happens in the music industry. If you have some success, but the key players in that success at the label now have an opportunity to go to other labels and make big money. And that's exactly what happened. Like, what I'm saying? So when we finished this project, every single person that we dealt with for the making of the and the distribution of the first album was now somewhere else. It's an entirely rollover staff. And it's almost like the president of the company is kind of halfway, not really a hip hop cat. You know what I'm saying? So he's kind of da-da-da-da, and the whole staff is like, looking at us a little bit like, we don't know if this is going to work. And, and it just became a whole different ordeal than the first project was for us. And what made it even worse became a strain in the relationship between me and Long. I think, like once we kind of started making some money, and I think money doesn't make anyone who they are. It amplifies who they are. And
say that one more time for the people that are in the back. I don't think they heard you. Say that one more time.
I don't feel like money makes anyone who they are. I feel like it amplifies who you are. You know what I'm saying? And like if you're grounded, then now you're firmly grounded. But if you're not, then you're very much in the wind. You know what I'm saying? And I think me and Long we grew up 2 different ways at the end of the day, just as men. And so now it got to the point where, like he didn't have to live with me. He was on his own. He's doing his own thing and the other. But now there's certain characteristics that as men, I didn't feel comfortable standing beside. You know what I'm saying? And I kind of just leave it at that. You know what I'm saying? And it's probably maybe a little truth as well. You know what I'm saying? Like, never have anything bad to say about Long, but just to say that we just started going 2 very distinctive different ways. And then when we did come together, it was becoming combative. And, that with everything that's going on with the label, and I just felt a little bit overwhelmed to the point that I felt like a lot of things were now being jeopardized.
Right.
So I stepped back. I stepped back from everything, and I went down to Carolina, wound up buying a crib down there, and that was the beginning of me working on myself and being an independent artist. And I felt like it was luck what happened. I'll take my time and I'll just do it again on my own. So, like that was the beginning of me learning all of the things that a label does, from the manufacturing to, just the marketing promotional aspects. It was just the beginning of me doing everything for myself at that point. And, and I did all of the selling out of the car and all of that stuff, and it was a step back, sure, but it was also something that became very essential in me having an understanding of how to move forward. So I released my first solo project called The Short Shot Redemption from down there. And anybody that got that joint, a big salute to you. That was my first solo venture. And from there, I came back to New York. And I just started doing the legwork that it took to kind of reestablish myself, getting back in with the natives. And, like they afforded me the opportunity to go on the road with them a lot initially until I really started doing my own thing again. And, these days, like I've released several solo projects on my own. I have my own label. The label's called Pool of Genius. You go to poolofgenius.com and pick up some of the stuff that you might not be familiar with. I've done about 3-4 different solo projects. I did a project with my man Jarobi from a Tribe Called Quest before they released the last Tribe album. And under the Evertan. Evertan is native spelled backwards. Me and Jarobi did a dope album that you might have never heard of. And I've just been really just kind of on my own grind, touring. I still tour globally. I'm still very much who I've always been. I just kind of don't have some of the platforms that you might know me from, and this and the other. And I don't stress that I've been blessed to be able to make a living, literally, being Dres and traveling the world, doing independent projects on my own. That I don't have to be that dude to see money that can feed me, my family, and sustain, myself moving forward. Just on a level that's cool for me. Like my beginnings in hip hop were never to be that dude. You know what I'm saying? It was never, for me, it was never about that. It was just about the artistry. And if I can make a living off the artistry, then I'll be here for a while. You know what I'm saying? And I've been here for a while, whether or not people recognize it or not. It's moved me to the point that I got the opportunity to do this amazing project that's coming out in 2021. That last I had the opportunity to meet Jay Dilla's mom at a show of mine, and this is like end of the 2019. I meet Jay Dilla's mom at a show like in Chicago, and maybe a month later, I had a show in Puerto Rico. And I look down and who do I see? Dilla's mom and her husband literally just off the stage. I'm blown away because I just met them. So after the show, I go straight to them, talking to them, this and the other. It turns out they have a home in Puerto Rico and they invite me back to the crib. They like, I was going to cook. We got some DJs coming. We're going to spin at the yard. Like, come hang out. Yeah, I'm there. Like later for this after party, I go straight to their crib. I'm hanging out with them like literally for the night. I'm there. We're talking. She's giving me this education. I'm in the kitchen with her while she's cooking. She's giving me this education about her son. And I'm just like, like blown away to hear it. And you know what I'm saying? I'm talking to her husband, Tony, who knows my people in Carolina. I'm like, oh, this is just too cool. And at the end of the night, they let me know like, yo, like that, we've seen you a couple of times, this, that, and the other. Like we've gotten back a lot of Dilla's catalog under the umbrella of the estate. We're thinking about different things to do with it moving forward. Would you be interested in putting together a project from his personal house? And I was just, wait a minute, hold up. Like I would have been glad to get a track or two. You know what I'm saying? But for them, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, I'm gonna make that offer to me. I was like, well, because I realized they could have asked anybody in the entire world that, and they would have been like, I would love to. So that was the beginnings of a journey for me that all last year, up until this point, I've been walking. I started going into every Dilla interview I could find online. Every beat tape, everything I could. I just start listening this and the other and start just really taking in who this brother is. He had amazing relationships with a lot of people around me, but me and him had only just met in passing. Like we wasn't cool like that. So I started doing all of this education of myself on exactly who he was and just listening to everything that's there, and it's just overwhelming how dope he is. He very much puts me in the mindset of law. And so I had to go down to DC, meet up with husband Tony, we go to a studio, we create, we pull out, I start picking tracks and this and the other. I create a folder, I come back to New York and I begin my process. And so all of 2020 was me creating this project that I'm going to release this year under the moniker D&D. D&D is Dilla and Dres. And the name of the project is called No Words. And the reason it's called No Words is because, like a lot of people who speak to this generation about the golden era. And, they try to tell the cat, what it is and this, that, and the other, how it made us feel. And but that's something that, in my opinion, you really can't tell someone. You have to show them. You know what I'm saying? So it's called No Words because that's what this project does. This is the project that you give to a young cat that they're going to understand exactly how you felt when you listen to Run DMC or when you listen to Tribe or, like when you put EPMD on and you heard, please listen to my demo in your headphones and you was just in another world. This is how I just created. This is, you give this, I'll juxtapose this project, No Words, next to everything in music today. And you'll see the difference easily. Like I created this good feeling project. Everything doesn't sound the same. That it takes you an array of places. It's got featured artists from Bun B to Chuck D to Freeway to Corey Guns to Alexander Simone, who's the grandson of Nina Simone, Silence, Source Money, my man Del, the Funky Homo Sapien, you got Myson, Chi Ali, you got Lil D, you got Afro. I mean, it's such an array of looks and sounds and, different DJs cutting on different records. Man, like this is something that's so special. Cats are really going to be like, wow. And it's entirely produced by Jay Dilla. And it's a really special project. So right now I'm just finishing everything up, and I still got a tad to do, and I'm talking to different entities about releasing it in a way that is kind of fitting of today. Like today's a different day. You know what I'm saying? So I'm exploring all the various ways to release something right now, and I'm every conversation and meeting I can have with whoever's interested, I'm having it, and I'm just weighing them all and looking at what they're offering or looking at what it might need, in my opinion, and I'm trying to decipher which way I want to bring this out. So I'm thinking sometime this year, like in the second quarter, probably going into the summer, I'll be releasing D&D, Dres, No Words, and I really am. It's almost like the choice is yours. Like I don't know exactly what it is I did, but I know I did something. So I'm looking forward to people hearing
it. And to dovetail on what you just said, how that's something. Rest in peace, Jay Dilla. For a lot of people, Jay Dilla was the meaning of the MPC. For a lot of people, Jay Dilla is the aspiration of true freedom when it comes to producing. For a lot of people, Jay Dilla is a few records. And to know that you, Dres, from Black have an entire album of Jay Dilla joints that ain't nobody heard.
Well, some of the tracks, some people have heard some of them. So, like this was one of the problems that I had. Like in me picking tracks that resonate with me, unless it was something that I knew, I didn't know. You know what I'm saying? So some of the tracks you're gonna hear in a different light, you know what I'm saying? But so some of the tracks might be someone's heard, but some of the tracks are definitely some stuff no one's heard, for sure.
As a fellow hip hopper, as a fellow MC, as a fellow DJ, if I hear you and I hear Common, that's Monday and Tuesday. That's just, they're different days. You can't, I'm not going to compare Tuesday to Monday because Tuesday will never be Monday. Monday is Monday, right? That's right. So, like, for whatever you're doing on that and for whatever the people are going to hear from that, It's going to be its own day.
Yeah.
And I think that's special. I
Very.
think that acknowledges the importance of what hip hop is to everyone. I think that that is completely dope. At the end of the day, like, it doesn't matter that it necessarily did one or Black Thought did one.
Right. Yo,
It's
this
you
is
now.
my word. This
It's
is my
your
word.
story
I
now.
promise you. I can promise you this. That the few tracks that I did find that I was like, oh snap, because it was a realization for me to realize that, oh snap, somebody used that track. Um, I promise you that, yeah, you hit it right on the head. They didn't use it like me. Like, you will forever know me on these tracks for what I did to them. People are gonna hear me in ways that they've never heard me before. Like, I really felt free. You hit it right on the head. I felt very free to try to do a lot of things that people might have never heard in me or seen in me. You're gonna get a chance to kind of peep that, and I think dynamically, I got with some of the right people as far as even the mixing of this project. My man Pete Miser, who's a brilliant soundologist, if you would,
Yes.
and they're gonna hear some of the Dillish tracks in a way that they never heard them. Really flipped a lot of things and really expressed myself in a way that is timeless. Like, like that to me, that's definitely one of the things that defines really good music is that like
And let's
Marvin
be clear.
Gaye's
Let's be clear.
Marvin Gaye what's going on is just as relevant right now as when he released it because it's timeless. It speaks to the being, and I'm releasing an album that speaks to the being, and it wouldn't matter if it comes out this year or 5 years from now. It's very timely. It speaks. It does what hip hop's supposed to do. Like if you take the words hip hop and you flip it backwards, it's people. Hip hop's always been about like-minded people. It didn't matter what color, what sex, what gender. None of that mattered. It mattered about having a like mind and speaking truth to power. And
Right.
that's what this album is. A very creatively done album that for like-minded heads that speaks truth to power and has the ability to be the soundtrack of your life. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what's significant about the golden era. It was a soundtrack to our lives. And I think these kids are missing that. Like there's no soundtrack to their life. What's playing now sounds like what was playing last year, sounds like what was playing the year before. You can't tell me what record was hot this time last year because it doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? Like it all sounds regurgitated. And I think we come from a place where everything kind of we had so much variety that we was able to kind of pull the records that created the soundtrack, the landscape to what we were living and learned from it and we grew with it. And like that's what I'm offering. And I'm not saying that there aren't dope cats out there, young cats, far from what I'm saying, because there definitely are. But what I am saying,
Some people will say Monday is better than Friday, and that's an argument that's gonna play out until we all turn to dust. Because
that's all.
some people want that Monday off, and some people want that Friday off. Right?
That's all. No,
They're two
but
different days
and two
They're
different
just
eras.
two-
Yeah,
they're two different days.
but no, but let me finish what I'm saying. Like, but because I want to give the cats the props that they're due. These cats have been able to take like their show business. I come from an era where the show was a lot bigger than business. These
Talk
days,
about it.
business is a lot bigger than the show. You know what I'm saying? And I gotta salute that because what they've been able to do with the average kid these days has an LLC at 19, 21. You know what I'm saying? Like we didn't see that. You know what I'm saying? We were so much into the artistry. Now today the artistry is a little lacking because they're so heavy into the business aspect of it. And
Right.
we're just looking for a place with balance. You know what I'm saying? Where the music speaks to the push that's being monetized. You know what I'm saying? And once we get there, then there's some congruency. So the only thing I'm saying is right now that the artistry has diminished a little bit for sake of the business aspects that's being capitalized on right now. So which is very important. You know what I'm saying? So I don't say what I was saying lightly. I've been able to learn from the younger cats as far as who I want to be business wise today, who I don't want to be business wise today, how to attack a record from the social media standing, and from like we're living in a different era that like you can't be a dinosaur for, you can't be stuck in your ways, you can't rhyme like you did in '85 and in 2021. So like you have to have the ability to be adaptable, to be water, so to speak. And so like I'm not taking away from the younger cats. I'm actually definitely saluting their strengths. But in saluting their strengths, I have to present, mine as well, which is more the artistry. So I'm just trying to find a place where, like everything isn't so syndicated, where we're not getting the same 15, 20 records all across the country every single day, where the power is given back to the DJ to break records and to introduce people to new notions, ideas, and sounds. You know what I'm saying? Like the things that are stifling the music that we might not even be aware of, the things that are becoming a pipeline to the prison systems that's privatized, that are now in the stock market and they make money from. Like that's why you see the music is a little poisonous and a little bit pushing you to a place that will jeopardize your free being, your free will, your mentality. You know what I'm saying? Like all of that there's a reason for all of that. You know what I'm saying? Like whose children are they going to put in these privatized prisons? Us. You know what I'm saying? What do they listen to? And so if they can diminish our ability to share information for some money, they do it. You know what I'm saying? And that's what's happening. So, like we just got to realize the things that, that exist in our lifetime and in our present day. And that's hip hop. That's countering, that's playing on all courts. You know what I'm saying? And how to move and how to maneuver and pass that information around, so we all moving strong and together we all code and we have an understanding of what it is that we're doing, as opposed to just trying to make some money,
And bro, you just dropped 1,000 jewels. But first thing I'm gonna tell you real quick, can you turn your mic volume down a little bit? It should be on your thing right here. If you're right here, you could be able to turn it down on your mic volume.
Yeah. Okay. My bad. I was yelling.
It should be there. Okay, good.
Okay.
Let's try it now. We good? All right, good.
All right.
Number two, let me look here, man. And I know I could speak for Orlando, and I know I could speak for the South right now. You didn't sound like anybody, ever.
That's peace.
Y'all style, your movement, what y'all were doing was so important. And it stood out. Even though y'all come from that native tongue lineage, y'all had your own movement. And it sounded totally different. One of the crews that rocked the hell out of you, they sampled you. Shout out to Home Team representing Miami.
Yeah, pick it up.
Pick it up. And dude, that frequency that you were singing that on your frequency, you when that song came on, you heard a scream. It was a ow! Pick it up.
All
and
right.
You ask anybody living in the South right now, they know that joint. They've been on that joint. I'm laughing at your shit because you can't floss it. High tech, high rec, got a wreck. Yo, Home Team was on Luke Skywalker Records.
I know.
The one group that was hip hop on Luke Skywalker Records, and they were the one group that took Pick It Up and turned it into a joint. And every club out here rocked that joint.
It was a big record. I heard it a ton. I used to perform a lot. I used to always be waiting for us to be on the same bill because I wanted to meet them kids. Sure, you know what I'm saying. And
right.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
but
yeah,
it was
man.
kudos to your movement and your frequency, because sometimes living in the city, shout out to all my New Yorkers, but sometimes living in that city, like everywhere else, that becomes the kind of like a box. But anywhere else, like I said, that frequency that you guys were on was like its own lane. So when you're talking about putting that frequency with a Jay Dilla, that
all
shit
right.
has got to be classic.
Yo, oh
It
man,
got
like
to be. You never heard of it. World premiere. Like it's gotta be like so like new sounding, but comfortable, familiar sounding,
right,
and just at
right.
home sounding. Like this is what hip hop should and always is. You know, at the end of the day, man. I mean, your career, your frequency, what you did, all the risks you took. I mean, allowed other people to come into play, but the same things that those people are doing right now can never touch what you guys are doing and will continue to doing. Like you are on this like new movement in your life, like on some like you said, you never thought in a million years you'd be rocking on a whole Jay Dilla album.
Oh
But you
man, yeah, right.
know how important that is, not only for
Yo,
you, not only for just hip hop, but for the world in general. Like that needs
right,
to be heard right now.
right. Yo, this
Just
my word.
cause.
Like it also pushes his legacy forward. You know what I'm saying? Which is dope. You know, and now if anything, if there was any pressure, which I definitely put some pressure on myself in the making of this project, but if there was any little bit of pressure, it was that his mom gave me the ability to do something with her son's legacy. That you want to live up to that. You know, like you don't want to fall short of a mother extending her son's legacy to you. You know what I'm saying? Like that was a little bit of pressure as far as me creating something. I knew that it had to be beyond solid. That like I didn't take that lightly. You know what I'm saying? So it's
Right.
moving, it's advancing me, it's advancing hip hop, but it's also advancing the legacy of one of the most incredible hip hop producers that will ever be. And a big salute to Jay Dilla and to his family. Sincerely.
Completely and utterly amazing. Um, Shout out to everybody that's tuning in right now, man. You are watching the Soul Show with your boy Rome and my brother from another mother, Dres, discussing new material, new music, which I will be rocking on 98.5 The
All right.
Wire FM this weekend, just cause. And last couple questions I want to ask you, beginning with, what were some of the inspirations that inspire you today to keep doing what you're doing? And the reason I'm asking that is because it's very important. A lot of artists are being caught up in this ageism thing. They're
Ah.
feeling like they're feeling like there's an expiration date on art. When we
That's
still,
another thing
when
too.
we still
I
look at
kind of
Picasso's as priceless, when we still look at Michelangelo things as priceless, but yet our art somehow has some expiration date,
finishes with age, right? Yeah, right.
right?
I'm the
Um,
perfect person to speak on this right here. Because in all honesty, I feel like half these artists need to be a certain age before we have to listen to them. You know what I'm saying? Half the stuff that they say. But ultimately, like we're in a place where the young eats his elders, and it's wrong. On a bunch of different levels. Um, One of the first levels that it's wrong on is that like it's it's an easy way out for a youngster to say, yeah, I don't know my history because I don't mess with them old cats. You know what I'm saying? It's an easy out to say like, yeah, I don't I just started rhyming 2 days ago. I should be a star, I shouldn't have to know who Love Buck Starsky is, who Melly Mel is, who Kaz is, who the Fearless Four are, because today is today, and that's that. That's a cop out. You know what I'm saying? And one of the things that they also do is that they set precedents. When a youngster says, "I don't mess with them older cats" in hip hop, they're not taking into consideration that in hip hop, first of all, our attention spans are very short today. The average time span of an artist is very short today. They're lucky to have a 5-6 year career. They're setting the precedents that in 5-6 years, a younger cat is going to look at them and be like, "Yeah, don't mess with them older cats." The other, instead of the reversal, which is, let me introduce you to my inspirations. Let me make sure the cats that make me want to rhyme, you know who they are and why you should know who they are. Let me make sure that they eat and let me bring them on tour because I'm killing it now. And I stand on the shoulders of what they never got really paid for. You know what I'm saying? Let me make sure that, you know what I'm saying, Kaz is, or Hook is, or whoever that inspiration is, let me make sure that they're good. Let me bring them out. Let them open up for me. If it's just a song that inspired me, let everybody make sure that they know where I come from. Let me also set the precedence that when I'm an older artist, these youngsters are bringing me out and making sure that I'm good and that there's longevity in what we're doing. I'm going to show them how to treat. It's almost like a girl showing her man how to treat.
Or it's almost like how we teach our kids to treat us when we head towards our end, right?
Exactly.
Do we
Exactly.
want them to put us in an old folks home, or do we
Right.
want, where nobody gives a fuck about us, or do we want them to take care of us? This is the society that we're living in right now.
Right.
We are responsible for the shit that we taught these kids on how to treat us. We told
Right.
them to go
Real
get
talk.
money, and
Real
part
talk.
of getting old is that money doesn't always, stay the way it did when you were young. And for a lot of people, once you get old, it's easy to dismiss you. Just like they say you're no longer relevant, which is bullshit.
Oh,
Because at
without
the end of
question.
the day, we
Without
are
question.
relevant. We live.
Let me continue to just to even break it down. Like, all right, I've been doing what I've been doing for over 25 years. If if I was taking karate for 25 years, I'd be like a third, fourth degree black belt,
It's called
able,
a
able to
master.
teach a
You'd be
class.
called the master.
If I was a chef for 25 years, I'd be a master chef. Who would you rather receive from, someone that's been cooking 25 years professionally, or someone that just started and has a platform? You know what I'm saying?
Right,
Like, I'm
right,
I'm I'm equivalent. I don't need someone to tell me I'm nice. I know I'm nice.
right,
You know what I'm saying?
right.
And what I offer you is a seasoned dish that I prepared personally from my own experiences, life, and love. You know what I'm saying? I put that next to anybody's meal. Anybody's. You know what I'm saying? Because I know what I consist of and what I'm made of. I'm a master mechanic. Let me rebuild your engine, because what you have right there, I can look at it and identify what the issues are and what you need to have a master mechanic do. That's who I am in hip hop. You know what I'm saying?
Uh,
I don't need for anyone to tell me what I'm capable of.
did you
As
have you
much
ever eaten steaks? Have you ever eaten steaks at a good steakhouse?
oh, without question.
Okay, so part of that steakhouse experience is there's only one dude allowed by that broiler that makes the steaks. There's no sous chefs, there's no assistants, there's no cold side, there's no hot side. There's only one dude given the responsibility to hold that broiler,
You know what I'm
and
saying?
he's got to put out medium rare, rare. He's got to put out this all night long for everyone that comes in, and that is considered at the time the master chef of that kitchen, because the only thing that they care about in that steakhouse is the steaks. They don't care about the salads. They don't care about the sides. They make their money with that steak and that wine.
No
And
doubt.
if you fuck up
And
either one of
that
them, you're
that
done.
aged
You're out.
that
You're
that
out. You're
aged
fired.
beef that's been massaged through
Right.
herbs and spices.
Right.
You know
Right.
what I'm
So
saying?
none
Yeah.
of that
You
stuff
know.
comes without, no pun intended, being aged. Right? Like they
Right.
brag about the steaks being aged a certain way.
Right.
Right? So when we describe and we talk about your story was aged a certain way. This is the steak that you serving up, to your point,
Exactly.
that
Exactly.
cannot be replicated unless you go to that fucking steakhouse.
Right.
Once you go there to eat, you're not gonna get the same experience. I go to Charlie's, I go to Ruth Chris. They're two different experiences.
It's
by
very
two different
different.
masters.
It's very different than a microwave
Right,
era
right.
fast food. Everybody's eating cold fries right now, and there's a world of difference in the taste of cold fries and what I'm offering as the nutritional value. You know what I'm
Dude,
saying?
I've had steak fries at a good steakhouse, and I'm telling you, them steak fries. Don't even talk Red Robin. Don't even talk any of these other places. That steak fry was done at that specific house. And to your point, which I'm being funny about, but to say, like, at the end of the day, we got to give flowers to our people while they're here. We got to say and respect the flavor, no pun intended, on which they bring, because your
just
delivery
the opportunity.
you've done in this lifetime is unique to you, and we're not gonna know what it truly is until you're gone. In that regard, until you're missed, everybody starts to bring out, oh man, it was so great, we loved him so much. But
That's how it
no,
goes, right?
he's here right now. He's here right now.
Yo,
Give the man
honestly,
the
this is my
flowers.
word. And like I said, speaking to the younger cats, looking at the older cats, like honestly, I don't want nothing I didn't earn. I just want the opportunity. Like give the I want all the platforms to just give the older cats an opportunity, because like we're here for a reason. Like there's a lot of things that get circumvented when we start communicating. We don't make the same mistakes. We don't, like we get a chance to stand on the shoulders of greatness. I stand on the shoulders of greatness,
Right.
to create greatness that I look for someone to put on mine. You know what I'm saying? So like we have to stop the mentality that I don't mess with something that I'm built from. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Instead of embracing and carrying on tradition. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
But
And
in no other platform does that
yeah,
exist, or that has a lifetime, because that's like the nephew dissing his uncle. That's like the son
right.
dissing his father. That's like the cousin dissing his other cousin. Like, none of these things
But you gotta
have a
recognize
long
though.
life.
You gotta recognize that's the divide and conquer. That's why kids these days are dealing with 360 bills. That's why, you know what I'm saying? Because what has effectively been done is the division of them from the literacy of our endeavors. You know what I'm saying? Like we have a lot of answers that they're gonna question on their own. And if we're divided, you know what I'm saying, then they get a chance to be manipulated by the powers that be. They sign a 360 deal for no damn money, giving up publishing and things of that nature, and don't understand why owning your masters is so important. Why having your publishing is so important. If you do a publishing deal, what it's worth. They don't have any of that ability because they've pulled themselves away from their own greatness. They've allowed the division. You know what I'm saying? And by staying close to each other, they get a chance to learn from a De La Soul's Tommy Boy experience. They get a chance to learn from, a Tribe Called Quest job experience, a Black Sheep's, Mercury experience, why I might not have signed with Jam at that point. Why? Like the little things that make them stronger in moving forward. They need to pass forward as well. You know what I'm saying? And we do that. Not that we do that. We allow that to be done to us on too many platforms.
Right.
We allow our division, and our division takes away from our strength. You know what I'm saying? Like our strength is here, but divided.
Right.
Well,
Well,
it's
the first
difference between
division,
a slap and a punch.
but the first division before it gets between me and you, and I'm saying that as beings, the first division is me from love. If you can separate me from loving, you got me in all kinds of divisiveness, right? So I'm gonna be divisive on, man, fuck him, or fuck that group, or fuck that label, or fuck that philosophy, or fuck.
It's
Once
all
you
there.
get me separated from love, it's not so much the divisiveness of people, because that's automatic. If I don't even if I'm divided from love, if love seems like some external object that I need to buy, right? Like you heard that old saying, money can't buy you love. Well, there's people out here that believe that shit. And,
definitely.
And they believe that shit 100. Like, and they don't realize by believing in that fuckery, they don't realize the majority of their life. And I'm saying that because for the majority of people that have existed, at least in America, the majority came from money. That's a minority of people. So the majority of people that didn't come from money know what true love is, meaning that was the only way to work out problems. So if you didn't have enough to eat, you just loved harder. If you didn't
that's real talk.
If you weren't able to beat this dude, you just find a way to love him.
You know what I'm
saying? Like you solved all of your problems with love because that was your only currency. And then somewhere down the line, somebody knew that was the most valuable object, and they told us it wasn't valuable. Oh man, fuck that. You shouldn't love anybody. You shouldn't trust anybody. Fuck them. You need to love these material things, and if somebody tries to take that away from you, they're the enemy. And then we believed that,
right?
And then it was easy once it became external, because once you have to get something outside of you, yes, the value does decrease. Yes. It does. Everything inside you is where all the value is. If you already have that inside you, you don't need to buy shit. You don't need shit. You don't need nothing. But we've been told, we've been programmed, we've been conditioned into thinking that our unity begins outside of us. So it's easy to dismiss. Somebody does you wrong, man, fuck that. I don't know why nobody told me to do that. Instead of, if it was in you, then you have the fortress to begin with. The storming of the castle begins with you, right? So if you're in deficit of love, it shows on the outside because you don't rationalize. You don't sympathize. You don't feel any kind of connection with it. It's easy to disconnect with it because it's not in you. So I believe the division that you're describing, and let's relate it to music. Well, these young kids have experienced a life in which has told them everything is external. Their phone, their money, the land, whatever, their experiences is all external. And if you don't have this shit, you ain't shit. And I remember growing up as a kid listening to this philosophy and being like, you guys are crazy.
Yes.
You don't know what you're talking about. But somehow through security and wanting to have shit, that bled into our kids and saying, well, if you don't have a house, you don't have a job, we turned into our parents in a lot of ways. We told these kids that unless they have these things, you ain't nothing, but yet we mad at them because they're looking at us like, you said to go get this money.
Right.
You said we ain't nothing.
Without it. Yeah.
And poverty is not something to aspire to, right?
Right.
But COVID-19, and I know I'm crazy than 12 loons, but I'm going to just say this. COVID-19 was a blessing on many levels because
It gave us some
put
perspective.
everybody back into the same space that we were as children to say what really matters. Does
Right.
it matter that your family is going to be there in the hospital
Right.
with you? Does
Right.
it matter that somebody tells you I love you and you ain't gave them shit to say it? Does it matter that the music just sounds good because it is good? I mean,
Yeah.
what are the things that truly matter and what are the things that we want? And I know the things that we want sometimes are the worst things that we could ever need. And God always shows us that in the end. If you wanted this whole mansion, you wanted this lifestyle, but you gave your life, you gave up your friends, you gave up this whole
Family,
planet.
everything.
But
Everything.
that, and it don't mean jack, because you don't even
Right.
have jack. You robbed
be
the
al-
bank
to-
and didn't get no money.
To be alone in it or to be with people that you don't even want to be with. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, trust me. I have a lot of relationships and I know a lot of people in the industry from very, very high to very, very low. And I don't envy none of them. I wouldn't give up who I am and what I know inside of me, even externally, to be anybody else regardless of a price point. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't put a price point on love. You can't put a price point on the experiences that get you to the place that you stand right now. And you're 100% right about this COVID. Like, it sat us down. It made us reevaluate a lot of things, a lot of people around us, a lot of our environments, our relationships with family, friends, children, parents, to everybody. And some of us needed that.
We all needed it. No.
At the world
We
itself
all
probably
needed
it.
it because even the people that aren't showing the results of likewise maybe me and you, they're gonna find out. They're gonna know. Because once again, money is a funny motherfucker.
Very much so.
Money will show
Very much
up
so.
and give you everything and make you sell out on every belief on earth, and then it leaves
And then
like
leave
it
you
never
alone.
even knew you.
and then
It's not even a friend. It comes by, it gives you everything, and it
Money is the
bounces.
most unfaithful love you'll ever have.
No, man, it's no loyalty whatsoever. But if you fall for the okie doke, it is our duty as people. Once again, if you're not divided from love, it is your duty to share your experience with love. So at some point, those that are lost will buck up on a person like yourself, buck up on a person like myself, and there will be a conversation had, and they will realize through our own story of our own loss, of our own foolishness, what love truly is. It's never about what we point at what you lost. It's about what I could point to what I lost behind my foolishness, behind what I thought was money.
What's up?
That's why this show and the premise of it is so important. I know we coming from Orlando. Shout out to my Old Town Sound. But the premise of this show is our city, our story, our sound. When you tell your story, man, you cannot, and I just met you tonight, but you can't tell your story without telling mine because that story is interconnected.
We're intertwined.
When you did that song, when you came up. Shout out to my man Big Lou and Lamont. They said you came down and they reminded me. We opened up for you at the Breakfast Club and you did Black Beach Weekend during the
All right.
height of that song at Daytona Beach.
All right.
Yeah.
Yes,
You
sir.
guys came down there and just tore it up. And Black Beach Spring Break, it was just tremendous. You did, I believe you did the big stadium out there. I mean, not the stadium, the big auditorium. Big Lou, where you at? Give me the name of that place out in Daytona. Well, you did that during the day. You guys came out and did the Breakfast Club, which is in Orlando, at night. And
I got big love for Florida, man. That's my word. Like,
yeah, man,
huge love. You know, like I remember specifically, you know, when the records, you know, really were at their height. We stayed in Florida, like, you know what I'm saying, and you know, like Florida just always showed so much love, and you know, and I don't say that lightly because you know, like, you know, to go south, you know, like the South had its own thing that was being
that own vibe, man.
Right. And so to be accepted, everybody wasn't accepted. You know what I'm saying? As far as what we represented, as far as, you know, New York hip hop, you know, though New York hip hop was very early kind of spoiled because of the ability to go everywhere for the most part, there were places that were coming up on their own identity. And so like there started to become this little divide where, you know, the South started creating their own identity, but West started creating their own identity. So only, you know, certain groups were really open armed, you know what I'm saying? And we were one of them, especially
and
in
you
Florida.
were one of them.
You know,
and
yeah.
yes, I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you know that.
Yeah.
And just for the people in the back and in the front, you were one of those groups that were, we get it. We got it. We got your movement.
And that meant the world, man. That meant the world, sincerely. That meant the world.
Right.
Bro, because
it was important for us, man.
It was given to the point that I did recognize it. You know what I'm saying? That's my word. Right. Like, you know, I really did recognize it, you know. And, you know, this is my word.
I
like
talk to 100 people down here, and probably about 90 of them are going to describe how you're a part of their childhood.
Right.
Like they heard you literally because Orlando's known for clubs. Like we got clubs all day.
Big.
We got DJs all day. We like the DJ capital. We're the unsung heroes of the DJ capital of the world. All
I remember like Khaled before, like he was popular. I remember Pitbull. I remember Pitbull before he was popular when he used to do backpack hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, I got a lot of love for Florida, man. That's my word. Like, you know, like, you know,
when we played your records, it was really love because we had a grand selection because we were up on the bass music, we were up on the South music, we were up on New York, West Coast, whatever. And so when we played your records,
because you wanted to.
It meant everything.
That means a lot.
It meant everything. So I'm just saying that to say, man, to just, you know, kind of round out what you said, and the idea that you are still at it and doing what it is that you do is so important for not only Florida, it's important for hip hop culture. Do not stop. Do not stop. Continue. Even
no plans. No plans. No doubt.
Doing
no doubt
what you're doing because we need that. It is historical. It's to me. It's like the equivalent of what the Egyptians left when they left scrolls and they left them damn scribes and all of that left for us to read years later. Continue to do it. Do not allow
hieroglyphics, no doubt.
Right. Do not allow these people, and when I'm saying these people, it's just a philosophy, an idea that, or corporate idea that you have a shelf date. You don't. We are
and if I did that, they could define it. Nah, no. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, we got to be who we are, and you know, like. at this point in my life, I've been who I am longer than I haven't. You know what I'm saying? I've been professionally emceeing and traveling the world longer than I haven't been doing it.
Right.
So like there's no doubt within me as to why I'm here and what I do and what I offer. You know what I'm saying? Like it's and you hit it right on the head as well. It's just a matter of when you receive it. You know what I'm saying? But whether I'm here or not, the world will receive what I have. The hieroglyphics that I've created, the world will see them. You know what I'm saying? That they're worthy of being understood and shared and enjoyed. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So so I just keep.
I know as an artist, I know as fellow artists and hip hop, beginning from where we started into where we're at right now, it is a confusing place to be. It's like that Dave Chappelle
Sometimes.
skit when he did the internet as a mall, as a place. You walk into this place and you're trying to buy some shit, and then all of a sudden
Pop-ups.
we're human beings, right? Like, so at the end of the day, I wouldn't fault you if you got lost in the forest. I mean, that's a human reaction.
Right.
Given
No doubt.
the vastness of this forest that we're all dealing with.
And I think it's only fair that we all get lost for a moment or two. Like that's how we are able to be definitive about getting back on the road to going. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh snap, I'm not on the path that I'm supposed to be on. Let me correct this. And like no one, I don't think anyone doesn't step over a line or doesn't step, off of a path only to find themselves and refocus or commit. You know what I'm saying? Like, like we all have those moments where there's some doubt, where there's some frustration, where there's some pain. Like that's life. You know what I'm saying? But in artistry, as being an artist, allow me to share that with you. You know what I'm saying? Allow me to tell you about mine in a way that no one else can. You know what I'm saying? And and that's not all. I got a lot of things that we got love to share as well. We got understanding to share as well. You know what I'm saying? And we just got logistics that you should know. We got tidbits for you that you want to put in your pocket. You know what I'm saying? And and everything in between. You know what I'm saying? And to me, like that's part of the walk.
And I want to tell you, just in case maybe you kind of got confused during the show in some regards, because I wouldn't blame you if you didn't. Because I know for a lot of artists to your caliber, you've probably been on a lot of interviews, and sometimes it's dehumanizing. It becomes more of a show pony kind of deal. I would feel some kind of way in dealing with any media if I was exposed to the media for that long. But I wanted to tell you, like, part of this show experience is to reflect more of the human in you and what your story is as a human being, not only as a legend, but as a human. Because a lot of times we build each other up to tear each other down. We create each other into these objects that have no life to them at all, just so we can like crash them down and be like, we killed him.
Yeah.
The killing happened a long time ago when we turned him into an object. He just got bigger as an object. I don't want to be that show, especially for my city. I have a responsibility for my city because we've been through a lot as a city of not being recognized, and I'll be damned if I'm going to contribute to looking at our city as an object when I know there's human beings out here that have devoted their entire lives to hip hop, and I'm going to be a part of that massacre. That's not going to be my story. And I wanted everybody to know that comes on my show that this is where I'm at. This is how I'm looking at y'all. I'm not looking at you necessarily as just the legends. Yeah, that's part of the story, but that's not the entire story. The entire story is that I'm talking to a human being who's seen some shit, and I would actually like to hear what he's seen in some real regards that can actually let people know, hey man, you don't have to go down this road because we went down that road. Then for me to be here highlighting some bullshit based on the objectivity of you, if that makes sense.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. You know.
So,
And you
I'm
know,
so honored to have you on the show, man, because not only have you been a part of the childhood of many people that I know, you've been a part of mine. Um, I know we're not that far off in age, but when I look at your ascension, I look at that as part of mine ascension in hip hop music. And like
yeah, it was ours.
it
It was
was,
ours. You know what I'm saying? No doubt. No
and,
doubt. It
and
was ours.
that was important for not only myself and yourself included, but just like hip hop culture included.
Right.
Like we
And
all
that's
did that.
that's what we want. That's what we want the younger cats to realize. That what we share is very important to where they stand.
Right.
They have to understand the correlation and why it's so important. And what they share will be equally as important,
Right.
given the love that we have. You know what I'm saying? Like it's important that they have that as well. You know what I'm saying? And it's important that we have, like it's time for us to start filling in some of the generational gaps. You know what I'm saying? Like we didn't do everything correctly by far. Just because something is golden era doesn't mean correct. You know what I'm saying? Some of our mistakes are for the betterment of the culture. You know what I'm saying? Just like some of the great things that we did for the betterment of the culture. Like
Right.
we learn from it all, man. And I'm very appreciative of being on your show today. For real. Sincerely, I appreciate the conversation.
On your conviction, even if you're wrong, before they ride with you on being wishy-washy. And that's what a lot of people have forgot in this madness that we've dealt with in 2020 and probably prior to that. Most people will ride with you, even if you're wrong, because you're convicted on it. Because you actually believe in something. You actually willing to take a stand on something, then be wishy-washy. Well, I'm with that. Because that's the equivalent of what we've always talked about, right? The sellout, the person that can be bought out of their belief, depending on the dollar or depending on the situation. This is so important right now. It's so beautiful right now. We need this right now. We need you guys right now. We need you guys, and I know you're doing what you're doing. I'm just confirming. I'm reaffirming.
And as well, let me let heads know as well. There's about to be a new podcast as well. There's me, Mace from De La, and Only Love are starting the Native Tongue Cast. It's a hip hop podcast that I'm actually, as soon as I finish with you, I have one of the conversations that we're having right now. I'm setting it up, and it'll be happening relatively soon. It'll be a new podcast called the Native Tongue Cast.
And where can they find that? Where can they find that?
I believe it's going to be on Twitch. We're kind of establishing all of that right now. But yeah, like literally, like we're putting all of that together right now, and it's just a continuation and an extension of the very conversation that we're having. There's certain voices that are missing right now, and the Native Tongue's voice is one of them. So it's important even at this point that we reinstitute some of the things that we are very much talking about right now. You know what I'm saying? And as us filling in the gaps with some things that some stories, some lessons, and some some love. Word up, some hip hop.
Hey man, y'all hear that, Orlando man? You hear what this man just said? A native tongue network, a native tongue frequency, a native tongue show. I mean, dude, we need that. We just
Yes.
need that. We need that on GP. We just need that just cause, man. Just cause
All
we
right.
need, So that's dope information. Before I let you go, I want to end off with something funny because I know you're gonna say something hilarious. So before we get out of here, top 5 dead or alive MCs you're choosing. Not
Oh.
what Rolling Stone chose, not what the Source chose, not what some blogger chose. What you chose. What are the top 5 MCs, dead or alive, that have inspired you in your life? That you can say, like the Constitution, in truthfulness, should be a living document. Shouldn't be a dead document.
All right, I feel that. Well, I'll tell you, it definitely varies a little bit. And like I have, to me, to have inspired me is greater than the amount of records you sold. You know what I'm saying? So, I'm gonna put a Just Ice in there.
Oh, Toya, let's go.
Got Just Ice. I'm gonna say Tito from the Fearless Four.
Yes. Yes.
I'm gonna say, let me see. You know what? I'm gonna go with somebody that doesn't get the props. I think that, mind you, they probably don't miss them or even care. But I think LL Cool J was an inspiration that doesn't get
come on,
that
man.
top. I don't think he gets that top love that he deserves. You know what I'm saying? LL Cool J was a masterful beast. I mean, matter of fact, like if you look at him, if you look at LL Cool J and B Street, I mean not B Street, Press Group. You know what I'm saying? Like, like the Ronald we had, that was LL, that was inspiring.
The doo-wop on that side B after I Need Love, dude, was just completely and utterly insane.
L was beastly, man. And he doesn't get those props. Mind you, he probably doesn't miss anything. Like he's well taken care of within himself.
Man.
God bless that.
There's no flowers on the planet for everybody.
Yo, man, it's my word. Like, so inspiring, and you can't put a dollar amount on that.
Man.
I'm gonna say a cat. Bring it a little more current. Let me say right now, like, a cat like Blackfoot is very masterful and very much speaks my walk. You know what I'm saying, as far as abilities, at a later age. You know what I'm saying, and always been there, and only growing. You see, with
that dude went to Krypton and came back with information. Like that dude.
Yeah, real talk. Yeah. Very dope. That's what we say. Number 5, the 5th one. I'm gonna say, if I'm gonna keep it current, you know what? I'm gonna give y'all some homework. I want y'all to check out a young artist by the name of Tough Junkie right there in Jacksonville, Florida. One of my favorite artists. Jacksonville, Florida's Tough Junkie. All right, that's my 5. All right.
Yeah. One more time for the people that don't know, Jacksonville or Duval County. Say it one more time.
Duval, no doubt. Big salute to Duval County, because this is my word. Yo, that's a hip hop paradise. I'm gonna give a big shout out to brother Tough Junkie out in Jacksonville, Florida. One of my favorite MCs, top 5. And God bless the memory of Peyton Locke. Sincerely.
Wow, man. You heard that, man. I hope y'all heard every last word that just came out of Dres' mouth, man. He just spoke some truth, man. Like, dude, please do your homework. Y'all watching the Soul Show tonight, man. Please check that artist out, man. Please, man.
Oh my goodness, you'll be very proud that you did. Tough Junkie represents Florida in a way that the Empire State represents New York, man. He's solid artist, and very unique, very much himself, and just dope.
Man, bro, such an honor to have you on the show tonight, man.
Thanks for having me, man.
people where they can find your music at tonight.
Definitely. Well, anytime you throw a name into YouTube, it's gonna, some dopeness is gonna come up. But you can go to poolofgenius.com, poolofgenius.com. You can stay in touch with me at Black Sheep Dres on IG and Dres Black Sheep on Twitter. And like I said, if you go to YouTube, put in Evertan, which is native spelled backwards, in Dres, or just put in Black Dres, and there's a ton of things that you might not even know there that speaks to my work. Sincerely.
Hey, my brother, if you could hold tight while I close up the show, just hold tight in the green room and I'll come back to you, man. I just want to give you some information before you get out of here, man. But
Sounds
give
good.
it up one time for Astoria Queen's own Dres from Black Sheep joining the Soul Show tonight.
All right,
Yes.
no doubt. Thanks for having me, family. Word up. I
You
look forward to
already
coming
know,
back
man.
when the record comes out.
You already know, man. Thank God, man, there is people continuing to do hip-hop music the way it's supposed to be done, man. Shouts out to everybody tuning in, man. We support y'all. This is the Sound of Orlando show. And like you always know, man, don't believe the bull. If someone doesn't believe what you're doing, continue to do it. Continue to blow their mind. Continue to blow your own mind. You have the time. 2021. Don't let any rules apply. Dream your dream and do your thing. I believe in you. We believe in you. Let's go.